Hi, I'm Mario Guerra, the two-time former mayor of the great city of Downey. And I'm here with my co-host on there and political strategist, Zurich Lewis. He's a member of the Board of Trustees of Cerritos College and a dear friend. Welcome to the show.
Always glad to be back. Thank you, Mario.
Good. We were talking offline now. Man, there's a lot of stuff on there.
It feels like, months happen in days.
Yeah.
And in the previous administration, it was, days happen in months.
Yeah.
It was very, very slow. And now all of a sudden, just breakneck pace. Incredible.
Well, I'll tell you what, breakneck pace on there. We got a lot of things to cover, so we're going to go as fast as we can. But there's some really good stuff and some controversial things. We're talking politics, so let's go politics in a nutshell quickly. So the first 5 or 6 things that happened with the tariffs, okay?
Yeah.
So, and people are like, oh my God, we're not going to get avocados. Oh my God, our Modelo beer is going to cost more for the
We got to take liquor off the shelves in Canada.
And limes and everything else on there. But what has really happened with all these tariffs, at least the announcement of the tariffs?
Yeah, that's part of the controlled chaos that Trump has been doing in this second term, that, it's a matter of actually having the gumption to do something to bring them to the table instead of saying, well, let's have a study and let's, consider this effect and let's have this other agency look at that, whatever. It's just, hey, we're going to have these happen in 24 hours. You better figure out something. Call me right now directly at the Oval Office. And, how much
shock and awe.
Yeah, no, exactly. Shock and awe. And, for the most part, I think that it definitely has worked and, brought people to the table that, otherwise would have said, oh, talk to my, secretary, talk to this, talk to that. And so, we've got concessions, and now we have, more border security and, our North American neighbors that we did not have before.
Yeah. So talking about that.
Yeah.
So you have, first of all, we send bad guys, 2 planes full of bad guys, hardened criminals, violent criminals to Colombia. We send them over there, send in these 2 plane loads. And the president of Colombia says, no, we're not taking back our criminals and so forth. And then all of a sudden Trump says, yeah, you are. And if you don't do this, this and that happens. And the Colombia president says, yeah, go ahead, send them our way.
Yeah, let me bring your plane.
Yeah,
bring my own plane and I'll bring them in.
Yeah,
sure,
so
okay.
we got 2 plane loads of hardened criminals that belong in Colombia, okay? So then you said, we're going to put a 25% tariff on Mexican items, right? And the president says, president of Mexico, that'll never happen. 2 days later on there says, okay, we'll send 10,000 people to the border, okay, on our side, on their Mexican side of the border to help protect the flow of fentanyl and so forth. Folks, anybody that criticizes in all the local news and the established media saying, oh my God, tariffs will never work, it worked just by the threat of a tariff. Okay, it didn't happen. I haven't paid any more money for my avocados for the Super Bowl game. But the Mexican government, they flinched. They said, oh, you know what? You're right. We'll send 10,000 there. You got Canada. We're going to put a tariff on Canada. Canada says, no, we're going to put a lot of tariffs on you. Anyways, they flinched. They said, you know what? Maybe we can do a better job of implementing our border security. Panama Canal, Senator Rubio goes down there. President Trump, oh, we're going to take it back. And everybody goes, oh, my God, this guy's crazy. What a bad man on there. President of Panama says, yeah, you know what? Maybe we'll work less with the Chinese. Yeah, maybe you're right. So there's 4 international things that have happened that the threat and the strength through power and peace through power on there happen. On there, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, and Donald Trump is the only person that could have done that, and to have that kind of shock and awe ability, because no one doubts that he will actually follow through and make it happen. And I think that's part of the controlled chaos that any other, even Republican president, would not have had that same kind of charisma and really the gumption to be able to make those concessions happen at such a quick pace.
No, it's like, and I think that I think countries fear him because they know he's serious. whether it's crazy or not.
Absolutely.
So, okay, so let's talk about, we in LA here have been having protests, okay, a day without an immigrant, kids getting out of school for protesting, which is a great excuse to do that, by the way.
Sure.
But okay.
Who wouldn't take that?
Who wouldn't take
Yeah.
that out there? It's my opportunity to carry a Mexican flag down the middle of, the 101 freeway. So I watch these things, and when you burn the American flag, you lose your high ground. When you're carrying a Mexican flag, you lose the high ground. When you're calling everybody that's being deported, these are all good people, you lose the high ground. When you're talking about putting down the United States for what they're doing, you lose the high ground, okay? And what I mean by that is, this is a complicated issue, right? Except it's really pretty simple. We were talking about, why don't you go ahead and explain to everybody what we were talking about, the problem with collateral damage when we go pick up the bad guys, if you will.
Well, I don't know about collateral damage, but certainly collateral arrests has been the term that's
Right.
been used. That
Right.
that Tom Homan, the border czar, as they say, said, hey, look, if we're going to have to go into and get a warrant and go into a specific house, a specific area that otherwise that person would have not been had they been detained upon the ICE's request, there's going to be other people who are there that may be family members, that may be friends, that the warrant officers, the people from ICE, will end up checking their immigration status as well, because they're a part of and could have a reasonable suspicion of continuing to harbor that other person there. So, they'll check everyone and say, hey, wait a minute, you don't have the immigration status. We're going to bring you down to the center and, check it out. And eventually you may also get deported as well.
Yeah.
So, preventing that and having the fewest amount, you would think from, the other side, it would be easier to just say, okay, here's a detainer request from someone that we brought in, to jail and, have them sent on over there. And we can have
Easy.
the rest of the family continue to stay there. So
Too
there's
easy.
collateral arrests that can happen, and that's
And you know
yeah.
what? Well, what gets me is on there, the Democrats here in California are talking less, and they're not using the word sanctuary city anymore.
Yeah.
They're just not. They've changed their talking points to help our people, but not sanctuary city. Folks, this is simple, okay? If you're a sanctuary city, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. If you have a bad guy that's got 3 assaults, he's been convicted, he's in jail now, and the sanctuary city says, hey, you can't come in, ICE, you can't come into jails to get him, and we're not going to tell you we're going to release him, okay?
Right.
So he's just going to be released out in the streets when his time is up here, even though he's a bad guy. He's a bad person down there. Let's get him out of the country.
Yeah, then he
so they
violates crimes.
release him. He
Yeah.
violates crime besides being here illegally.
Right.
Nobody wants to arrest 11 million people that are here just because they're here illegally. But out of 11 million, let's say 5% were violent criminals. 5%. It's a pretty small number. That's even lower than what the average in the country is on anybody, right? 5% violent criminals. Guess what? On there, that's 500,000 people. We got to get to 500,000 people before somebody else that's not a violent criminal will even be arrested. There's no way we're going to send back 500,000 people. But you know what? Let's make it easier on these folks to arrest these 500,000 violent criminals. Sanctuary cities don't work because that you don't help in getting the bad guy out. So anybody that's out there protesting, please figure this out. Nobody wants anybody that just because they're from Mexico. Of course, we respect and love Mexican people.
Of course. And it's not just about Mexico. I mean, Mexico, the people waving the flags there have their own idea of saying that the land that we're sitting on is Mexico right now, the nation of Aztlan.
Yeah.
And so that they want to make this land theirs and part of Mexico. So they believe they're already here.
Right.
So
But you lose the argument.
You never see a Cuban flag in any of these
or even
stances.
other countries, even South American countries.
You and my mom, my grandparents, came over here legally the right way and worked and brought so much value to this nation and our community in this area. And here we are, the products of that.
But you know what? Let me go a step further. You said something that we did come here the right way. But let's say you wanted the American dream, okay? You would do anything to come here. So you bring your family here illegally, okay? So out of that, do the right thing and don't commit any crimes while you're here. Don't be a violent criminal on there. There's so many good people that I know that come here illegally that just are working hard. They're good people. They're my neighbors. They're your neighbors. They work in our communities on there, but they're living the American dream by at least not committing other crimes. The ones that we want are the criminals, not just because you came here.
Right.
Listen, I mean, we were blessed. I was blessed to come here. Knowing what I know about this great country, I would do anything I could to bring my family here. So I understand it. Don't burn the American flag on the 101 freeway. Don't get on the 101 freeway and stop traffic for people that are coming home from work or going to work to earn an honest living. And you took the day off, or you don't have a job, and you're out there protesting. Shame on you. Shame on you. This day without an immigrant. Folks, our country was founded on immigrants. How dare you on there assume and make the two assumptions? ICE is going after criminals, bad criminals, not the average immigrant that came here illegally. They're going after the ones, and there's plenty of them to do so. So I resent all these things I'm watching in the news. I resent the newscasters for not explaining this better, okay? ICE is going after bad, violent criminals, not after Abuelita, not after that, but hey, if sanctuary cities, L.A., look at that. L.A., let somebody in there to get the bad criminal out of the prison. And you know what? They won't have to go to that bad person's house in collateral damage, collateral arrest. So
absolutely, yeah. So,
anyway, want to make that clear. It's a pet peeve. We've been talking about it. Sanctuary cities don't work. This is why. Okay, protests like that don't work. They're silly. They're silly, and you're embarrassing yourself because you're not informed. Look at the information. And I see these poor young people that they're spouting these things, the ones that get the mic in front of them, and you look at it, and it's like, oh, my parents worked really hard to get here, so I get that. And you're arguing why. What are you arguing? So they don't understand what the issue is. So
I think it goes back to what they believe is a fascist government, and that they're all just going to be thrown out just based on their race. It's not about a racial issue. It never has been. I mean, especially in the last 5 years, has been a very multinational illegal immigration rings that have been brought over by the cartels, been brought over by whoever. Even just you may have seen plenty of videos of just boats coming into San Diego, La Jolla, and just here you go, and let's put you in a van and send you out to wherever. And they're not all Latinos, right? So it's not a racial issue, and it's not a national issue. It's about keeping our border integrity so that we can have a great community. And you often see so many. That's why you have the Lake and Riley Act, right? The Lake and Riley Act was because of an illegal immigrant who ended up murdering a college student. And so, that's exactly why even Democrats have realized that, hey, wait a minute, the American people have said that we need to have our laws enforced and the rule of law. And so what we need to do as, our respective institutions is to enforce, those rights. And so for the people who go to, let's say Cerritos College. I'm a board member at Cerritos College. And so we understand that a lot of people are seeking what has been termed economic asylum, right? And we're the best country in the world, but we can't have every single person, every 8 billion people come and be a part of the United States. Part of that is, some degree of assimilation, right? We're a nation of ideas, right? And so there's a lot of diversity of different races and different people and different cultures, but what ultimately should not be diverse is our fundamental ideas, and the foundation of what America was founded on, and the rule of law is one of those foundational ideas. So one of the things that I want to do at Cerritos College, and I'll be bringing this up in a meeting in the future, is to work with our colleagues to say, hey, wait a minute, those of our students, since we can't obviously collect, immigration data, will say, hey, if you want to leave because you are undocumented and you have fear and you want to stay with your family, or if you end up already get deported because of either a collateral arrest or even whatever, tell us once you're out of the country, and say, hey, I was a student, I decided to leave because of my immigration status. We're going to continue to honor the resident in-state tuition that you already have, which is one thing. And the second thing is that we will have all of our professors accommodate you for continuing not only the class that you're in, but continuing the degree and the path that you're in, so that once you want to come back and you want to come back the right way, then you have the ability to keep that track going forward. And we don't want to be an impediment and a reason for you to decide, hey, I want to stay here and flout the law, and so that I can continue my education. For especially many of our students are parents, some of them even single parents, and that's their only way that they can get economic advancement. And that's what we as a college have always been, whether you're a resident or not. So
that's awesome, and I think
it's a short-term solution.
It is.
It's a short-term solution, but it's something that now that many people have shown that they're afraid of their status. We don't want us to be an impediment for them to say, hey, let's keep you on your path, come back the right way. We'll be more than happy to accommodate you in any way possible.
But that's outside the line thinking and outside the box thinking, but it's also common sense, logical. It's logical for the institution. It's logical for who you're catering to, your students on there and your families.
Absolutely.
You shouldn't hopefully have any problems from any of your other board members moving that through. But folks, that you heard it here first. That's he's going to be proposing the resolution. That makes sense. That's good common sense things that can happen. Let me tell you why the some things that when you continue to push, when you continue to stand on principles or issues that don't make sense, how bad things happen. The fires. We got the 2 fires.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fires, but terrible things happen in this community. Easton Fire and the Palisade. So last week at the LA County Board of Supervisors, a couple of the supervisors and the head of the building department for the county brought up that they're looking and asking the state to help expedite and basically suspend some of the laws that hurt in rebuilding fast. Okay, I think rebuild fast.
That hurt, and
on there. I mean, some of the CEQA things on there, but there's 2 or 3 other things on there. One of them being that you have to have a affordable housing element built into any new project of a certain size and so forth. So they're saying, hey, state, we want to rebuild as quick as possible. Can you suspend this? We'll look at all of it, but can we suspend this so we can get Palisades in these cities back up to speed? And you know what happened is? The protest came out from the affordable housing people, okay? That no, you got to build, we got to stay with these laws right now because we need more affordable housing, especially now when these people's houses burn. We need more affordable housing. And I'm like laughing, like, wait a second, there's no housing right now. It's burned down.
Yeah.
And you want to delay it and have hearings and so forth so you can have some affordable housing. These people lost their houses. There's not a lot of affordable housing going on in the Palisades, and Altadena it could and should be. I'm not arguing the point of affordable housing. The motion was to expedite. State, will you help us expedite with some of the crazy, silly laws you put into place so we can't build fast? And yet people are fighting that. So that's the stupidity of some people here that aren't rowing in the same direction or want to row in the same direction.
Yeah, no, it's a narrow-minded, obviously, certain groups have their advocacies and they're going to stick to only their advocacy, and everyone else, is secondary to what their particular position is, right?
Yeah.
And so, it begs the question of, if you're going to, waive all of these so that we can, get the buildings back together, what's the point of having them in the first place? Right. And so there's ideas of how to, expedite CEQA and make it more permanent, and this should be a flashpoint to have those issues be a lot more expedited so that we can have, our local cities, even Downey, La Mirada, Norwalk, right, have that ability to build what we want to, and not have to, like the city of Norwalk, sue this state, and the state sue Norwalk for, not complying with, the housing element and being forced to have much more dense housing. Yeah. So,
there's 2 projects here in Downey, of 40 and 40 units, condos that have been works for, 6 or 7 years, and all these impediments get in the way. And it's like, this is like, if we're market rate, there's got to be some affordable housing component. And I just don't understand why it hasn't happened yet. But anyways, that's neither here nor there. Those projects should be built, and you got a builder that wants to build it, and let's help them on there. Rick Caruso came out with this new Rebuild LA group that's got some of the head of Amazon, the head of Google, the head of all these different companies. They're top-notch people that are volunteering their time to come together as a group. How do we rebuild LA faster? And I don't know, I have confidence in Rick Caruso. None of them are getting paid or anything else like
Sure.
that. But he announced it yesterday,
Okay.
and I'm cheering for them. I think it's going to be a high-end group that's going to help expedite things, and I think that's what everybody wants. The people in the Palisades, the people in Altadena. We got to help these people, and one of the ways is to help them get back. I was talking to a friend of mine who lost his house. His brother lost the house in the Palisades. He had USAA, he's a veteran. He
Sure.
had USAA insurance. The insurance has only been, 3 weeks since the fire. His insurance already paid for it in full. Here's a check for that. So now they're just going through what the value of the land is, right? The building is easy to there. And then they're going to pay him 3 years while they live someplace else, the cost of living. They already give him a check for the rent of 3 months that they're in, and so forth. And I'm just saying there's good insurance companies like that, and I'm plugging them only because I just heard the story yesterday, that are helping to work these folks. Now, here's an interesting thing is, he says they're probably not going to go back and rebuild. They'll take the money on there and they'll go find a nice condo somewhere or so forth. They say they're too old. The process will take 4 years
Sure.
to build your dreams. 4 years of your life. If you're 40 or 50, it's a different story. If you're 70 or 80, to go through that, you want to enjoy life, not worried about if the contractor shows up today.
Yeah.
So those are the kind of nuances that are happening every single day, and unfortunately will continue for the next 3 to 4 years.
And State Farm just announced a 22%. They want to do and
Right.
are asking the state to give a 22%
Right.
rate hike
Right.
on all
On all of their
homeowners,
policies,
all
not
the
just-
policies.
not just
exactly.
there, not
to
just
pay
there.
for
So,
the fires. Yeah.
But you know what? I blame that on Ricardo Lara because on the
Yeah.
Insurance Commissioner, because the State Farm, they wanted, they wanted 5 or 6%. And for years, so if you give them 5 or 6% per year, which is, something reasonable on there, they wouldn't be so far behind. And then the worst part that they got is that it got pushed back and saying, we're not, we're getting out of the state. We can't afford it here. They have 3 rate requests in with the Department of Insurance over the last 2 years. And the Department of Insurance has 3 months to answer them. They haven't answered any of them. So Ricardo Lara, what are you doing? You're failing the people again. And, he's getting ready to run for a board of supervisors. So politics, everybody's looking for where their next job is and so forth.
Yeah, he never cared about being an actual insurance commissioner.
Yeah.
It was just about
Yeah.
using that as a stepping stone
Yeah.
for anything further.
Yeah.
So,
But look at this. So
yeah.
so somebody asked me the other day, so is there still corruption going on in the Southeast and everything else?
Is there still?
Is
Yeah.
there still? Yeah.
Yeah.
When did it stop? But look, a couple of days ago, the Senate Pro Tem of the Democratic Party just put back into as the chairwoman of the Insurance and Banking Committee and so forth, State Senator Rubio. She has been incriminated in Baldwin Park for taking illegal kickbacks for her campaign when she was running for state senator. And it's identified pretty much in there in the FBI.
Yeah, her name is not specifically on there, but it can only be
right.
her.
So they stopped in the committee assignments. That committee, which is vital, the insurance committee during these fires hasn't had a chairperson, so nothing's come out of it for the last 2 months. So just yesterday, the Senate Pro Tem named her the chair of the insurance committee. Number one is, really? That's the best you got when there's all these other things going on and it's a possible indictment? But anyways, politics as usual. It's who you know and the party that you're with.
That's exactly right.
So, but anyways, I'll tell you what, right now, all these things happening, the best thing, and you're a lawyer, is to be a lawyer,
Yeah.
because it's like, this poor immigration changes on there. If you're not legal or you haven't finished all your paperwork, you're looking for an immigration lawyer. I have
That's
a
right.
dear friend, that's an immigration lawyer, and he's just booked. But
Yeah.
one of the things he said too is some of the people who are coming to see him are people that have a right to stay. They had all the things there. They just procrastinated over the 5 years. So now they're scared. Okay. And all of a sudden this happened. So, anyways, it's an interesting time. Politics is really interesting. Folks, we need to keep ourselves informed. I told you last week that story about, LA Harbor College when
Right.
they called the sheriffs on me thinking that we were ICE because I had some Army friends with me. So everybody's is at an edge right now, What do you think of some of the cabinet picks? We've got most of them confirmed. President Trump's cabinet fix this morning, Attorney General Pam Bondi got sworn in.
Yeah.
What are some of your other thoughts on a national level?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised that Pam Bondi was as close as it was because she has an actual resume being the Florida Attorney General. And, for her to only have one crossover vote from, John Fetterman, it was a little surprising that I would think at least some of the other red state senators should have done that because
Shame
it's
on
not,
them.
it's not like she's unqualified. I mean, I could understand Pete Hegseth from, one standpoint to say, oh, well, he's not, the general, he's not the typical qualification for someone for Secretary of Defense.
Or Matt Gaetz, I only had this personal
thankfully,
issue.
he was never even up for the real confirmation.
Yeah, that was still a
he
silly
would never
look.
would have gotten it. I'll tell you that. I know I wouldn't have supported that.
Well, I think he had the personal issues, but he had never been an attorney. I mean, Pam Bondi was the Attorney General for the state of Florida.
Right.
So there's a lot of issues there. She had proven herself.
Yeah, absolutely. She's proven herself, and it's been interesting to see who will vote with certain nominees over the other, and so we'll see how many RFK gets upcoming. Cash Patel and Tulsi Gabbard might come down to the wire, similar to Hegseth. So there's a lot of people who have.
I think they'll get through. I think there'll be one of them that doesn't.
Yeah.
And RFK was interesting here. So to say the least.
I think the most likely to not get through might be Tulsi. At this point.
From an experience standpoint, a couple of things on there and stuff like that. So her wearing the white was a good choice for her
I think so. Yeah,
last
there you
week.
go.
So anyways, anything else you want to bring out? There's a lot of stuff going on in politics. We're going to continue the show to make sure we talk about this with openness and frankness and discussion.
Just last night, you saw that Trump had a press conference with Benjamin Netanyahu and made an announcement that the U.S. would take ownership of Gaza, which blew a lot of people's minds left, right, and center. It's always funny, and you could consider it Schadenfreude for the people that would say like, oh well, hey, Kamala, Gaza speaking now, and now all of a sudden, and that using that as a reason why they wouldn't support Kamala, and now all of a sudden here comes Trump saying, oh well, we're going to take U.S. ownership, which I believe to be yet another one of the same tactics similar to the tariffs to say, hey, if you're not going to come to the table, all the rest of the Arab League, then the United States is going to take, some world leadership and make sure that October 7th does not happen again. Because if you ever watch even 1 minute of the documentary of what actually happened on October 7th,
it breaks your heart.
It's a huge, whatever color pill you want to call it. It's going to really color your perspective of why Hamas should never have any power again. And that's another resolution that I brought at Cerritos College to say, hey, wait, we as a college, if we're going to have resolutions, right, and advocacy, this is one of the things that we need to do to understand that we stand for values as to why we do what we do, and we need to condemn Hamas and make sure that it never happens at the college.
Well, so
and
many people,
we never really even had any kind of the demonstrations that you would have seen at the the four-year universities. And my understanding is that our college and our students actually work and actually want to succeed in their careers and are taking their education seriously. And a lot of four-year universities and graduate level have become so toxic in thinking that there's they want to put more priority on advocacy for things that they cannot control and that have no effect in their lives because it's just the cool thing to do. So it's less of a focus on actual advancement for the individual and more of, oh, hey, well, let's stand up for someone who we believe is the oppressed, when in reality that's
Yeah.
not the case.
Yeah.
So,
Well, right now,
yeah.
it's, I mean, when the president brought this whole,
Yeah.
I was like, wow, really? But again, shock and awe, Netanyahu didn't think that the prime minister didn't think that was such a bad idea. But now the other countries, their Arab countries, like, hey, maybe we better help Gaza rebuild and take some ownership this in the right way. But I mean, poor Gaza, the people there are just, it's just what a terrible life that they had for the last 2 years. But again, this all comes back to the evilness of Hamas. Evilness of Hamas that can do that to other people.
And their own people, too.
And their own people. It's absolutely crazy. So lots of stuff going on in the world. I'm heading back to D.C. in a couple of weeks and got some meetings lined up. We have, in some other time, I'll talk about some of the things that have impacted the Department of Defense on their, the social media social media ban just got lifted the other day from the Department of Defense.
Yeah.
I think they're looking at everything. Everybody's looking at everything. Doge, Elon Musk. I'll tell you, if you look at the stuff that USAID has provided, I'm sure they have some good things. But, there's, $45 million to help, Iran, promote tourism is not something we should be paying for,
Yeah, there's many that you can go down the list of,
you start
what
laughing.
has been.
Like, what are you thinking?
And
why
how
are we
much could be
promoting that?
spent on Americans? I mean, you always hear from, people on the left saying, oh, well, we need, to spend X amount of millions of dollars on these entitlements, on, health care. We need single payer health care, and how much, how many billions of dollars. Well, why don't you start from reallocating the resources that we already have?
Right.
It's not a matter of, oh, well, we need to raise taxes, right?
Right,
I mean, the
right.
similar argument can be made for the state of California, too.
Right.
And some, members of the state legislature to say we need single payer, we need, better health care. Well, why don't you start paying for American health care first rather than paying for Moroccans in their pottery classes?
Right.
When they've been doing it for 1,000 years.
Right.
And they know how to do pottery.
Right. And here we gave them $25 million for that.
Right.
So the state of California, just to go back on that, originally it was $25 million to Trump-proof the state in legal fees. Then it was raised to $50 million. Then finally, when the Republicans and the leadership in the Republican Party kept bringing up, why don't you use that for some of the fire relief and some of to help those people out there? So they took it and they put it aside for a week or two. And then the other day, the state legislature votes on the $50 million. Okay, let's just get it through now. Let's calm down. So theirs was like a wait and see, wait till the right timing. But the state of California now is spending $50 million. They're giving an extra lawyer's fees to Trump-proof California. We don't want to be Trump-proofed on there. We want to help the people here. So anyways, little strategic things that they're doing.
Yeah.
And, so watch out. Zurich and I will be glad to tell you the truth and nothing but the truth. And we'll go from there.
So help me God.
So help me God. Yeah, absolutely. So you want to end with anything besides that?
No, I mean, there's always a lot, and every day is a brand new headline that there's no narrative anymore.
Yeah.
The only narrative is that there's a new president, there's a new sheriff in town, there's a new sheriff in the world, and we have to respect that whether you like it or not, because the American people spoke.
Yeah, and thanks for the Ocasio-Cortez on there for giving us some headlines every day, calling Elon Musk, he's just one of the dumbest people she's ever met. And, I want to be the richest man in the world. You can call me dumb anytime you want. Help me start 3 companies,
There you go.
PayPal, SpaceX, Tesla.
I've never seen a fascist government want to limit the scope and size of its power.
Yeah.
So it's not a fascist government.
Yeah.
It's just a epithet that's been wrongly used by so many people to say. Well, you can disagree on the size of government, but it's not a fascist government to say, oh, well, we need to cut it down and return it to the states.
Being a special government employee, SGE, by the way, I shouldn't talk about it on this show, but my position as the civilian aide to the secretary, I'm an SGE also, a special government employee.
Yeah.
So me and Musk were like,
It's basically the same person.
We're the same person out there. We want to come
immigrants to America.
No.
Yeah.
No. Actually, we are right. So, Anyways, folks, we've been going back and forth. We like talking politics. There's a lot going on. This year is going to give us a lot of fodder to talk about. And we will gladly bring you the news or the stuff as you come about. Let us know if there's a particular subject you want to talk to us about. My cell number is 562-706-4114, 562-706-4114. And Zurich and I will talk about it. We tape the show on a regular basis, and we appreciate you watching. We appreciate you listening. Click and subscribe on there, and maybe send us some of your comments, and we'd appreciate it. So, anyways, thank you for watching Talking Politics with Mario and Zurich.